Hi there, Coach Sage Cande of VO2 Max Productions here. Today we're going to talk in this uphill running form tutorial, done mini running form technique drills as well as on Sandy's channel, Running Wild to Believe. You can subscribe, look at the playlist for running form, uphill, hill repeats, high intensity stuff. But what I've really found training for Sierra Zinal and the Pikes Peak Marathon that's really helped me this summer with my climbing is activating the glutes, your butt muscles, and your hamstrings, and even the calves. So basically this posterior chain, right? All the muscles in the backs of your legs, which are the real powerhouse. I was relying too much on the front of my quad, which you obviously will use your quads to climb, but I was relying too much on that quad dominance, not activating the hamstrings and glutes enough. And that's where you get this paw back power, but also this spring using the glutes, your butt muscles, right? If you were thinking of like skipping up a hill, that's really where a lot of your power is going to come from, and those muscles fatigue less quickly. They're more resistant to fatigue compared to something if you're just using more of your quads to get that kind of power. So with short hill intensity, short hill reps, we're looking at a grade of hills. You know, you want to start off probably on a more mellow grade, 3%, 4%, 5% grade, but then even working up to mountain race types of grades where you're hitting 15, maybe even 20% grade. A lot of the races I do in the Golden Trail Series get even steeper. This gravel road hill here is probably about 15% in this little section, but I just want to demonstrate some of the form you got to be thinking to activate the glutes and the butt muscles. And you know, it's really a matter of staying upright, not hunching over, right? You don't want to be sitting in the saddle. You don't want to be folding at your waist here, or it's going to collapse on your diaphragm. You also, another common mistake is, and I do this all the time, common mistake, is you get really tight in the shoulders and you hunch over like this. I also crane my neck over because I'm kind of discouraged if I'm having a bad day, climbing poorly. You're kind of looking down at the ground. You want to at least try to look a little bit in front of you. Keep that chin up enough. You don't have to be looking up to the top of the mountain. That might be really discouraging. But if you're keeping the chin up enough, you're opening up your trachea so you could breathe a bit better. It also is going to help align the whole back of your neck and spine. If you see in my deadlifts, hex bar deadlifts tutorial, right, I kind of round my back and hunch over too much. That'll cause some back problems. It could cause shoulder tightness. It's going to limit your breathing, right? You want to open up the rib cage as well as the diaphragm and the trachea up here in the neck. So keeping the shoulders back, the neck up. You don't have to be straight up and down with the hill or you're going to be kind of leaning backwards, right? You want to lean into the hill a bit, but the lean comes from the ankles. That's where the angle is coming from, not from the waist, right? And that being said, and this is the real key takeaway here that I've learned with the hex bar deadlifts and just thinking about my form, there's other bridge exercise drills that you could check out on Sandy's channel too, as well as some band tutorials we could do before the run to activate the glutes more, is thinking of your pelvis position, right? Actually, if I lift my shirt up, you can see better. From the hip bone, you got your pelvis, and you want to have that lower part of your pelvis thrusted forward, right? If it's like this bucket, you want to tip it forward, so you're kind of thrusting forward. Not too exaggerated, but enough that you're squeezing your butt cheeks together, tightening your butt cheeks, and so it's kind of this little bit of a thrusting action, gets you up on the balls of your feet, so when you're clawing up the hill, and again, you're not going to be lifting with super high knees because that would be exhausting, but when you do hill sprints, you exaggerate that form. You have your pelvis in that position so that you're activating those glutes. You could feel that squeezing. It's like if you were skipping up the hill or you were bounding up the hill with really high knees, exaggerated form. So here's what it looks like here, right? You even start off the hill rep kind of slow and kind of bound into it, right? Like you're almost bounding up the hill and really feeling that spring when you're finally pushing off your toe. It's going through the calf, but it's also going through the glute. It's not all this quad action. When I ran with my quads and got tired early in races, I got a lot of quad fatigue. You know, I was trying to just spring off the quads too much, right? It was all quad. It was all the knee bending, inefficient action. Now you will use your quads, obviously. They're very important. They're more important probably for the downhill though. So you want to save your quads for the downhill, and the quad stabilizes the knee joint, more of a side to side wobbly type of thing. That's what the quadriceps designed to do, especially the outside of the quad, where I was relying on it too much just to get power to climb, when you should be relying on your posterior chain muscles, the glutes, the hamstrings, and the calves. And the hamstring is going to help you with that paw back action, right? You almost want to imagine that you're pulling back across the ground like a horse, you know, you're kind of scraping the ground. if you're sprinting really fast on gravel, you're actually probably slipping a little. That's why it's important to have a good trail shoe like the Hoka One One Torrent with good traction, right? Because you're pulling back. You're pulling back to propel yourself forward and to launch up the hill on your climbs. And again, moving the arms pretty vigorously more on an uphill, you're going to need that power. Everything's going through that core. The core is not just your ab muscles, it is also the hips and the butt, glute muscles, front of the hip flexors as well. So really key with glute activation. Hill running, again, the technique, running these pretty high intensity, and I'm breathing pretty hard because I'm getting my heart rate up. It's hard to run fast uphill, but the main thing is to develop power and to run with good form. So thanks for watching this tutorial. Again, we have all sorts of running form tutorials, marathon training advice, half marathon training, ultra marathon, mountain running tutorials on our channels. We have a channel called Sage Running, as well as this channel, VO2 Max Productions. You can subscribe on here, check out the playlist, check out Coach Sandy's channel, Running Wild to Believe. I'll link all those in the description below, as well as some promo codes from my sponsors, Roka Shades, Hoka, other sponsors. I won't plug them all, but Spring Energy. You can check out some of the discount codes there, as well as on our website, sagerunning.com. Be sure to subscribe on here. And thanks to the Patreon supporters, again, for really making this possible. Hope your running's going well. Stay tuned for more.